Hello, music theory students. This is the first of a few videos about sort of the last remaining things of the minuet that you need to know in order to do your final analysis assignment. So the first thing that I wanted to start with is rhythmic patterns. And again, everything from this video is from your textbook, Harmony Through Melody, and this is chapter 22 that we're looking at. So I wanted to start with rhythmic patterns that you can see up on the screen here. These are basically patterns that you know if you were going to be writing a minuet, you would start by using these patterns and then you decorate further. So these would, if you did trochaic and iambic, you would be using your 3-note vocal figures to decorate. If you use tribrachic and dactylic, two patterns that you have seen already, then you'd use your 4-note vocal figures. And the new pattern is Bacchic. At the very bottom there, you have a quarter note, going to a dotted quarter note, and then going to an 8th note. So of course in a minuet, this is in 3/4. These would be the rhythmic patterns that you would use to do your first decoration of the soprano line. And then you would elaborate that further with instrumental melodic figures. You'd add arpeggiaturas and suspensions and retardations to that. Okay, so the first of the new 6/4 chords is the neighbor 6/4 chord. And this is basically a chord that just extends the triad that you have already. So the most famous example is Silent Night or Stille Nacht from the 19th century. Let me play for you this so you can hear what this chord sounds like. Okay, so notice that it is, we call it a neighbor 6/4 because two of the upper voices are starting, that are on scale degree 3 or 5, or the 3rd and the 5th of the chord, move up a step and then back down. Okay, so that's why it's a neighbor 6/4. Two of the upper voices, the soprano and another voice, will do that to create this neighbor 6/4 chord. So framing it in your minuet, you can do this from beat to beat. So in those instances where we have elongated a chord to last for 2 measures, you can put the 6/4 chord on beat 3. So you have a tonic on the downbeat and another tonic on the downbeat, and then we use our trochaic rhythm, and we now have our outer voice framing that will allow for that neighbor 6/4 on the weak beat. Here is how you would realize the neighbor 6/4, and notice you can use Bacchic rhythm. And so when that you resolve back to that triad here, in this case it would be a B flat D F, you've created a suspension. Okay, you've created a dissonant note that resolves down, and that's a 7th with this voice that moves down to a 6th. So that's what's really important about this here. And actually, not only that, you're taking the 4th, I should be looking at the bass, you're taking a 4th that is allowed in the neighbor 6/4, right? But then when we've moved back, the other voices move back to the B flat D F, we still are holding on to the 4. So we can create a suspension in that way. So here's 2 examples of using that neighbor 6/4 with Bacchic rhythm, and that's the rhythm that you would have to use in order to create this suspension on the 3rd beat of the measure. Here's a neighbor 6/4 within a measure. So all of these are examples now within the measure. The first example I showed you was going from a downbeat to downbeat. You can, because we have chords that are lasting full measures, do this on beat 2. Okay, all 3 of these show this, and it doesn't have to be a tonic. It just has to be a triad that's holding through for the whole measure, and then you can do this on beat 2. So here it's happening in a place where we have a 5 chord. Okay, and so we even have an accidental in there. That's true for this 5 chord is D, F sharp, and A. And in this case, you can do a retardation in the first part of it moving up. So those are 2 options for you using this. Now we're using a dactylic rhythm, whereas here we're using Bacchic rhythm. So both of those allow for within that to create a retardation or a suspension. Okay, and that's the end of this video that shows you the rhythms that you can use, as well as the Neighbour 6/4 chord.